We're told Ollie is on our side in Chapter 3, but come to think of it, we don't really know much about him. While some clues say that he might be our friend, new info suggests Ollie's been playing us all along. Poppy Playtime is a game riddled with mysteries and secrets, but the biggest one to date is the prototype. So far, no other toy has any similarities with him, until Chapter 3, when we meet Ollie. The seemingly innocent child on the telephone who helps us get through Playcare is the total opposite of Experiment 1006. Both share one similarity, however. No one has really seen them. This one point has raised a question that keeps many Poppy Playtime players up at night. What if they're both the same person? While there are plenty of reasons to believe Ollie means well and is genuinely looking out for us, certain things cast doubt on his loyalties. For example, Ollie potentially trying to keep us away from Dog Day so we won't find out the truth. During one of Ollie's calls at the start of the game, he said that Catnap is the last of the smiling critters.
It's the home of Catnap, one of the smiling critters. There used to be 8 of them, I think.
The rest were apparently killed by Catnap as a punishment for opposing the prototype, but later on, we would find out that wasn't the case. The last sane smiling critter was actually Dog Day, which means Ollie was basically lying to us. Either that or Ollie just wasn't aware Dog Day was alive, but here's why that makes no sense. Dog Day, who was being tortured in a cell deep in the factory, knew about the player's existence. When we got into the playhouse, Dog Day instantly recognizes us as Poppy's angel.
You're Poppy's angel. Come to save us.
This confirms that there was a means of communication between Playhouse and the rest of the factory. Since Ollie has enough information about Playcare to potentially take down the prototype, why wasn't he aware of Dog Day? He should have been aware, since even Dog Day was able to find out about us. If Dog Day knows about us, then Ollie must have also been aware of the events happening in the Playhouse. If we go by this theory, then despite knowing about Dog Day's existence, he told us he was dead. If you consider Ollie's insistence that we go to the school area instead of Playhouse, it makes him even more suspicious. It was as if he was trying to keep us away from seeing Dog Day and finding out the truth. Of course, one may argue that Dog Day could have found out about the player from any other toy, but if Playhouse is so dangerous that Ollie advises us against going there, then who could have told Dog Day about us? It definitely can't be Catnap. That's not the only reason Ollie is suspicious. First of all, he never explained why he couldn't meet us face to face like Poppy. He never tells us where he lives, how old he is, or who he is. Is he a toy? Or is he one of the orphans who survived during the Hour of Joy? Ollie's refusal to show his face raises many red flags. Let's say he's one of the toys. Even then, he has no reason to not show his face. Since Ollie sounds like a young child, it seems like he's just a character created long after the Hour of Joy. Let's say Ollie isn't a toy like Poppy, but a child. Going by the Poppy Playtime timeline, Ollie's age at the time of the Hour of Joy has to be around 2. Since the game is set 10 years after 1995, Ollie has to spend 10 years in a factory infested with hungry toys. This makes you wonder why the toys would not eat him after going insane in a factory for years without food. The factory is entirely deserted, save for the bloodthirsty toys who are hungry. Ollie's survival as a child is near impossible amongst monsters like Catnap. Ollie's existence as a human only makes sense in 2 scenarios. Either he is a part of the prototype's evil plan, or he had someone taking care of him in Playtime. In both cases, he's not the innocent child he's led us to believe. But his behavior suggests that he's not a child after all. If he were, he'd address the other kids in the first person. But he never does that. Remember this voice line?
It's me again, Ollie. Cool place, right? The kids used to live here.
While showing us Playcare, Ollie addresses the children in the third person as if he were not one of them. And from his tone, it doesn't seem like he's hurting or suffering, like Dog Day or the other toys being tortured. Instead, Ollie sounds like he's having a great time. His tone is upbeat, and he's excited about showing us Playcare. This makes you wonder, how is Ollie thriving in the factory when deaths are happening constantly? When you consider the Poppy Playtime timeline and Ollie's age, it leaves only one possibility. Ollie is faking his voice. He's not a child, and he's most certainly not a toy. Now that we have established Ollie's behavior isn't entirely clean, let's discuss his identity and why we think he may be the prototype. As someone who needs help in a factory swamped with toys, Ollie sure knows a lot about every little corner of the factory. He has eyes in almost every room. That's quite suspicious for a potential 12-year-old who needs help. Moreover, how did he gain access to those cameras and keys? The prototype has been in charge of the ongoings within the factory. Ollie had to have somehow outsmarted the prototype or come into contact with him at some point to gain access to cameras. We're talking about the all-powerful prototype here. How can a 12-year-old child run Operation safely without falling into the prototype's hands? This brings us to Ollie's behavior toward the prototype. When we encounter Catnap Shrine, Ollie says this.
Hey, did you see the shrine? Catnap made it for the prototype.
Did you see the shrine? If you think that's scary, wait until you see the real thing. So it's clear that Ollie knows what the real prototype looks like. It's worth noting here that no one knows how the prototype looks. Maybe not even Catnap. According to Ollie, Catnap built the prototype statue before he was turned into a toy. From Theodore Grambell's drawing, we know that Catnap had only seen the prototype's arm. The fact that Ollie, who's apparently working against the prototype, has seen him and not Dog Day raises a red flag. But that's not all. Ollie's tone while talking about the prototype is highly suspicious. It seems like he's trying too hard to not sound like a fan of Experiment 1006. First, he talks about his statue in an almost reverent way, and then tries to paint him as some sort of a messiah. He says, I guess there was some pretty serious accident. He almost died, but they say the prototype saved his life, giving up his own freedom in the process. It almost sounds like he's trying to convince us that the prototype isn't a bad guy because he can't help but admire his actions. Besides the math about his existence not adding up, Ollie often breaks character. For example, he sounded almost surprised when we survived Miss Delight.
Hey, are you alright? No ouchies or lost body parts?
It was as if he wanted us dead. The most obvious reason to connect Ollie with the prototype is his voice. We all know that the prototype excels at mimicking. But what if he's just voicing Ollie from behind the scenes? Now, one may argue about the prototype's voice has always been glitchy and changes mid-sentence. But it's worth noting that the prototype is a genius and a quick learner, so it's possible that he has mastered his voice box to mimic any type of voice. All the clues gathered so far suggest that a kid named Ollie doesn't exist at all. Instead, he's likely another pawn in the prototype's game, or worse, the prototype himself. But what do you think? Is Ollie actually an ally in the game, or is he an enemy? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click on one of these videos on the screen.